More bad press for Vince McMahon. I wonder if he'll show up tonight on SmackDown and do a little dance. It's This Week in Regret. Hello and welcome to everyone. New details have emerged regarding Vince McMahon and his alleged history of sexual assault, hush money, and non-disclosure agreements. A new article published by the Wall Street Journal Friday reveals that McMahon had agreed to pay more than $12 million to 4 different women over the last 16 years to keep them quiet about his alleged sexual impropriety. According to the article, for instance, one former female talent apparently received $7.5 million after claiming that Vince coerced her into oral sex, then demoted her and failed to renew her contract in 2005. Another person was apparently paid roughly $1 million in 2008 after claiming McMahon had sent unsolicited nude photos to her. Another longtime talent was reportedly paid $1 million in 2006 to stay silent about a sexual relationship between her and Vince. There's also an investigation into a $1.5 million settlement involving Vice President of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis, who is currently on administrative leave. Well, remember what I said last week about the slow leak? Yeah, it's still happening, and I feel the dam could burst any moment now. I'm not surprised that so many people tried to downplay the original Wall Street Journal report, saying, oh, it's not a big deal, he's just trying to have a little fun. But really, it is a big deal. And these new reports, all it does is just give more evidence or alleged evidence of a flagrant abuse of power, of sexual harassment, of a rich history of inappropriate relations with female staff, not very becoming for the head of a multi-million-dollar entertainment company or any kind of company, quite frankly. It's become increasingly apparent there is no amount of spin to get out of this story, no amount of nothing burger appearances on Raw or SmackDown by McMahon to help people distract from what's going on here. The way I see it, if Vince does not step down entirely from the company, not just as CEO and chairman, but also the head of creative, then what's the point? What are we even doing here? For the betterment of the company in so many ways, in my opinion, Vince just has to go at this point, because if he doesn't, I believe these leaks and these stories are only going to get worse. In other WWE news, are they or aren't they? More speculation and confusion surrounding the status of Sasha Banks and Naomi. The former women's tag champs famously walked out of an episode of Raw last month over creative differences with Vince McMahon surrounding the tag division. PW Insider reported Thursday that Sasha and Naomi's names were removed from the internal roster, though as of this recording, there is yet to be any official public word as to their contractual status. And honestly, at this point, I am just a little confused as to why there is such a runaround and a lack of clarity regarding Sasha and Naomi here. We have seen both men and women get released far faster and with a lot more clarity over a lot less than what Sasha and Naomi got in trouble for here. The longer the company waits to make a statement about these two, the more they run the risk of driving a wedge between themselves and the fan base at large, and especially the fan base of those two ladies. I don't see these women coming back to WWE anytime soon, and quite honestly, I just don't care either way anymore, but every day that WWE fails to do something with the Women's Tag Team Championships is another day that further validates Sasha and Naomi's concerns over why they walked out in the first place. I say, cut them loose, let them go where they want, and let the market decide. One person who's not going anywhere soon is Pat McAfee, who just signed a multi-year extension with WWE. The color commentator and occasional wrestler has been part of the company in some form or fashion since 2018, signing his first multi-year deal in February of 2019. I think it's a great move for WWE to hold on to McAfee here. I mean, just listening to his commentary on the pay-per-views and on SmackDown, his energy and the joy that he expresses when he is doing that job can be felt as a viewer watching that stuff and listening to his commentary. He has certainly upped Michael Cole's game. He himself has said that on a number of occasions, and I like the chemistry those two have together. And I think McAfee has more than proven his worth as an in-ring performer with those special attraction matches, like against Adam Cole and then later against Austin Theory, and then this upcoming match with Happy Corbin. Of course, that remains to be seen how that will go, but history has shown that could be also good as well. So I think thumbs up all around, in my opinion, for McAfee re-signing. New Japan Pro Wrestling has unveiled plans to make their next year one of their biggest to date. The company held their business strategy presentation this Thursday. In their presentation, New Japan officials said they're working to change the entry process into the company to allow for younger talent to enter more easily after college. They They've also announced that U.S. fans will be seeing women wrestlers from their sister company STARDOM in New Japan of America rings going forward. The company has also declared there will be some mixed tag matches coming soon. They introduced an impending branded protein supplement line, and that cheering will be allowed once again starting in September. Very cool news by New Japan here, especially the news that the STARDOM wrestlers will be making their way to America fairly soon. I think that's a brilliant decision. With women's wrestling as popular as it is right now, it's a very smart move. Send their talent to America, where so many more eyeballs are going to be put on them, and therefore, theoretically, more on STARDOM itself, so we can get some more fan base there. And by the way, once the protein line comes out, best believe I'll get my hands on it and try it right here on the channel. Grand opening, grand closing. A new UK-based promotion headed up by the former Authors of Pain has announced they are canceling this Saturday's inaugural show. Wrestling Entertainment Series, or WES, was scheduled to hold their first event Saturday at the Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham, but announced on Wednesday the show was off. This comes after weeks of its American-based talent announcing that they were pulling out of the show because they weren't paid or hadn't received travel information, including Matthew Rehwoldt and Lena Fanene. According to reports by Fightful, the UK-based talent haven't been paid either. This show was originally scheduled to happen on June 4th, but was reportedly pushed back due to it conflicting with the Queen's Jubilee. Dean Mutati, the former Mojo Rawley, is already in the UK and says he'll be hosting a meet and greet this Sunday. Fans who bought a ticket for the event can get in for free, and for everyone else, 100% of the meet and greet money will go to the UK-based wrestlers who were booked in the show. Dean Mutati is a good guy. Speaking of new promotions, a former AEW talent says he's planning on starting one of his own very soon. Marko Stunt spoke with NBC Boston this week and revealed he's planning on starting his own promotion later this year in his hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. The former ally of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus says he's already been working in a booking capacity with Cape Wrestling in Missouri since leaving AEW earlier this year. Now, I have no idea what Marko's booking philosophy could be like, but as a showrunner, he can't do much worse than the Authors of Pain in the UK, so best of luck to Marko on his new promotion, and I hope it's a successful one. We wrap this week's episode up with a little story about trust and social media, and yes, I have to admit I have to eat some crow about this as well. It was finally confirmed this week that Buff Bagwell's Twitter account was being run by someone else. In the last week or so, fans began to complain they hadn't received Buff merchandise that they had ordered. Bagwell says that was the responsibility of his then manager, Michael Long, who later revealed that it was he who was writing for Bagwell on his Twitter profile. This revelation confirms months of suspicion by both fans and former colleagues that things weren't exactly what they seemed with the account. Bagwell addressed the issues in a video statement this week, apologizing for the unsent merchandise, acknowledging that his Twitter account was run by a team, and he also addressed his stance on the LGBTQ community, for which he had gained a considerable online following.
Do I support it? I support anybody that's happy in their lives. And that's the idea of what we were talking about. For me, anybody that believes in their self, I'm for. And that's what we were trying to say.
I think he could have been a bit more direct with his apologies. I think he could have apologized to the fans who he misled and deceived with this account. I'll admit, I was briefly caught up in the mania of Buff's Twitter account and his seemingly change of heart or his change of stance in the last couple of months. And then again, for a while, I also thought the Iron Sheik ran his own Twitter account, so my bad. There is still an air of deception that has cost people lots of money. There's all the stories from fans who didn't get their merchandise. There are stories of an artist who apparently did lots of shirt designs for Buff, talking to this intermediary, being catfished essentially, talking to the manager of the Twitter account, then being ghosted and not getting paid for any of that stuff. These are real people with real money on the line, not to mention all the fans who have felt hurt or betrayed by this revelation of what's going on with Buff's Twitter account. If Buff truly wants to be the stuff and make good on his promise of change like he's talking about in the documentary he's working on, then he needs to begin by making things right with the people he's hurt. Well, that's going to do it for this week in Regret. Keep your eyes peeled to the channel next week when I review the Great American Bash 1990 and also hopefully have an update regarding my involvement with STARRCAST weekend later this month in Nashville, Tennessee. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.